Tonight, Vision talking with our 24 hours and beyond. We're still watching and talking about what's happening with Hurricane Lee out there into the Atlantic, into the mid and far Atlantic now. Hurricane Lee's the storm that we're looking at that's still been out there for a while and will remain doing so. I don't know if you can hear me at the moment. We're in a little bit of a technical difficulty here, but I'm going to keep talking. I see myself every once in a while. Drew's working on the equipment here tonight, but we'll get into this. We have a special guest coming up here as well in just a few moments. We're going to have Ted McInerney, my big buddy from Birmingham, Alabama. He is going to be with us during the show here, talking about what's happening up into the northeastern United States. And we'll be looking at the big picture here overall. How are you? It's good to see you. Ted, I don't know if Ted, you know about the TV business. You never know if you're really in black or not. On your end, you see yourself in black, but you never really know for sure, so you just keep talking, bro. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on your program here. I'm excited to talk to you again. And we had such a good history there in Birmingham, and now I'm up here in Maine. And little do I know I was going to be dealing with a tropical system.
A tropical system, yeah. And again, we go way back. Ted and I met many years ago in the Birmingham market, and we worked together there and had Ted, I had such a wonderful relationship with you and Kaylee Dion, and we had such a great team camaraderie there. It was really nice there, the effort that we put in a very competitive market there to talk severe weather. And we did have some severe weather. In fact, some of the most notable severe weather in my lifetime that I remember 40 years of doing this. That time with you, bud, that was kind of it for me when it comes to lifelong memories and everything that happened that day.
Yeah, it was wild. I came in from the Midwest with my starter market, in Davenport, Iowa for 3 years, and I got some severe weather chops there, but, I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so when I got the job in Birmingham, and I was kind of shaking in my boots a little bit about the severe weather. It was right March starting there. And I don't think I even had a show first. I think I was just on for severe weather right away. And I was working with you that night. And then we had several little severe weather events leading up to that big one on April 27th in 2011. But that was a way to really kind of start off your career in Birmingham.
Unbelievable to start off that way in Birmingham. We're talking about the big outbreak in 2011 when we had so many tornadoes that day. We'll get into maybe a little bit more of that here very shortly, but obviously we're talking about a hurricane that has been so publicized. It's the moment it came off the coast of Africa. Everybody was talking about that and still is to this point, although Ted, I made a bet with a guy 5 days ago, Drew, that it wouldn't make it to 70 degrees, and I think I'm going to win the bet because it was with Brett Adair. So this thing is moving. It ran into a brick wall when it got down to this, this part of actually like 30 degrees or so. It ran into those westerlies that were aloft there. And now it looks like it's going to make a track a little bit further to the east. I mean, it was a little west yesterday, and I know you were greatly concerned about that at this point. So with this track, and I'm going to zoom up here, you're in Portland, Maine. They're about where the T is in the word sat. So with this kind of a track and going over, I'm also concerned about the Bay of Fundy.
Yeah, and
that would be that's something I learned in college was about the Bay of Fundy. And
Bay of Fundy is an interesting thing. At low tide, you can just walk out to your beach, right out to your boats. I mean, the tides are enormous in the Bay of Fundy. So if this thing hits and high tide should be right around 1 p.m. on Saturday. Now, storm surge is a little different in Maine and Atlantic Canada because it's rocky, big ledge coasts. The bigger issues from the waves and the erosion and the surge, you want to say, would be like the lobster boat, the docks, the piers that are built out there for fishermen and some of the towns. Those things could be damaged with this, and obviously the boats themselves. But when you look at this track, and I've been trying to share with my viewers and folks up here in Maine, is it looks like a miss for southern Maine.
Right.
And it's not going to be. In fact, it looks strange to see the cone go into Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and a tiny little piece, what we call down east Maine, the further east part of Maine, down east. Right. And tropical storm warning goes all the way down to Rhode Island. And that just got issued at 5 p.m. And that's because when you get these, when you talk about those northern latitude storms, the storm is kind of changing as it gets up this far north. So yes, the tropical characteristics are there and they're weakening. And each report you're getting from the NHC about, oh, it's no longer a Cat 5 like it was once before. But when it gets to the Gulf of Maine, the water temperatures are like 62, 65 degrees. Hurricane Franklin and Dahlia and even Jose out there really churned up the Atlantic and really cooled down the northern Atlantic quite a bit. So we're seeing this kind of thing. You talked about it hit a brick wall down in the westerlies. Now it's going to hit, I always tell the school visits that the Gulf of Maine is kind of like a protective barrier for tropical systems because they could come in, but they got to be strong and they got to get in here because once they hit the Gulf of Maine, they have no fuel left. In fact, it's going to be sucking fuel from it. So it's going to be coasting in on fumes if it's coming in here. And that's exactly what's happening here as far as the tropical characteristics.
Yeah.
But the big difference we're going to see, and this is what the NHC products aren't showing, is the massive wind field that's going to develop. So the center weakens, but the winds explode for a much further diameter. So we're going to have winds to Cape Cod, to Boston, to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, southern Maine, from Old Orchard Beach up through Portland, Maine, Booth Bay Harbor, and then inland interior Maine too, getting some winds too. But there could be tropical storm force winds up and down the New England coast, especially in Maine. The further so it's kind of southern Maine coast, mid coast Maine, and down east Maine. And it will get worse as you go down east. But we're still looking at, probably from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., frequent gusts over 55 miles an hour. And there's another big thing. I was talking with a meteorologist down in Orlando, Florida today, part of our Hearst Station group. And there's a different topography here, not just that, but also vegetation. Most of Maine, the pine tree state, are very tall white pine trees. And the root system is very shallow. And we've had a ton of rain this summer, a ton. We've had
so that's where it's all going.
And we're going to be, it's going to take a stiff breeze for one of these to come down. So, and not to be that mean to our electric company, but we have, every time we have a nor'easter, there's 100,000 power outages. So now we have foliage on the trees.
Yeah.
So we got weight to it. You got loose ground, tall trees, frequent gusts over 55 for several hours. So this effect may be the cone, maybe in Atlantic Canada, Bay of Fundy, but anywhere along the Gulf of Maine is going to see some pretty nasty winds Saturday.
So when you think about this, predominantly here, and I was talking about this with a couple of people. I went to FSU. We got a big football game up there to Boston. When you
Real
think
tough
about
opponent.
yeah, and so this is I mean, all of my friends that I know who are meteorologists from FSU were all like, "No, we can't play. It's a hurricane," because our passing game is the big deal with FSU. Is how good the passing game, and who's going to throw the ball up. And what? I mean, what could it possibly be in Boston? I mean, I'm going to make you the expert for the entire northeastern United States, but if this thing is offshore, let's say Saturday, what was it? Supposed to be Saturday afternoon. This is midnight. Well, it's actually jetting on through a little faster than I thought.
Yeah, definitely is faster. That's one thing I've noticed this evening.
So this is 12Z. And let me see if I can go one up more. So if it's 18, is that 18Z? 18Z Saturday, and this thing is up south of the Bay of Fundy. I'm going with the GFS here because I still think there's a little uncertainty in between. The European and the GFS are kind of together. They were this morning. Mm-hmm. If we got a 964 out there, that's kind of unlikely too because it looks like crap at the moment. I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to get back together again.
That's the other question I've been looking at too. I think we anticipated this thing being a Cat 2 getting closer to us and then falling apart, but it could be a tropical storm by tomorrow morning.
I think you're right, if not later tonight. I think they're struggling now to find 80 knots. I think they're kind of working really. In fact, they sort of said as much earlier. So we got a pretty good gradient here if you look at it because of the high pressure to the west. So this is pretty much for you, given that it's going to be a north wind. Does that have any significance now that this is a north wind? I know you go through nor'easters and that kind of thing. Most of the time, it's either, a good nor'easter is like an east wind for you, but this is a north wind, pretty much true throughout.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the name gives it away. The east, northeast, nor'easter name.
Right.
Yeah, we were talking about
That's
the
why
day.
I used it.
I can't remember any storm in Maine history that is going to have north winds this fast. So, yeah, that could be some significance to it. I mean, Maine has had tropical systems in the past. We had Hurricane Gerda in 1969. It was the last Category 1 hurricane to make landfall way out in Eastport, Maine. But we've had just the remnant storms. Some kind of storms that have fallen apart. But the wild thing about Lee, till to this day, how we've been talking about it for almost 2 weeks, hasn't made landfall anywhere.
Anywhere. Anywhere. Well, again, I'm not saying I told you so, but for all my guys who've been with me, I told them it was. And I did it because some jackamamie person on the net, the minute it came off the coast, said, this is the one that's going to get us. And then there was something else, 3 days ago, some dude on there, kid again, said, Cat 5 is coming at us. I don't want to get into that because my buddy
No.
Brett will get PO'd, but you know what that's like to be a trained meteorologist and see that crap
Yep.
on YouTube when you tune in, and there's all this. So then they get everybody else excited, and you and me and everybody else who's a real, weather person has to take all the questions. Well, so and so said, or I saw it on the thumbnail that said it was going to hit us, and now we have to clean that story up for everybody. So I never really felt like, I don't remember one coming off the coast of Africa where I was like, yeah, that's it. But anyway, and as you can see, the latest satellite imagery here, our infrared imagery, shows all that dry air on the south side. It's going to look
It's a
extra
ragged looking eye.
Yeah, it's going to be extra tropical before you know it, and have a little front hanging out the bottom end of it. So there is a little while though. There were the fetches from the east, and does that worry? Is it moving fast enough to where the coastal deal? And is Portland a place that's susceptible to that sort of an east fetch? That
Yeah, one of the wildest storms I dealt with here in Maine was actually right before Christmas last year. It was that big bombo genesis that happened over the Great Lakes. So we had some of the craziest ocean flooding because of the east winds. We were up to 80-mile-an-hour winds offshore from a non-coastal storm, which was bizarre to me. And we had a ton of flooding at high tide. So yeah, we have huge tides compared to down in the Gulf of Mexico. Our tide on Saturday at 1 p.m. will be about 9.5 feet. So at 12 feet, we'll start to flood downtown Portland in the main street, commercial street. Nothing crazy. The businesses are kind of ready for that. But we will see businesses surrounded by water for a couple of hours on Saturday because of this storm. And because it's moving faster now, probably more so the case there. And the northerly winds will help to a degree. The storm surge really not it. It's more just the fact the winds blowing the tide itself, kind of a surge in its own self there. So we'll see areas that are very notorious that happen over and over again because we have the king tides in April where they flood too. And so obviously this is no king tide where it's a 15-foot tide out of nowhere. So that should help. But yeah, I think with the big thing that we're going to be worried about with damage in Maine and southern Maine coming out on Sunday, Monday is the beach erosion. And the damage to docks and boats will be the biggest issue.
Yeah, the big shrimp boats or shrimp boats. Talking about the Gulf of Mexico here.
Lobster boats.
The lobster boats, do they do the same thing as they do in the Gulf of Mexico and look for some river to go and
yeah, I mean, they kind of.
Or do they just go through it, dude?
I have a few lobsterman friends, and I was like, "What are you going to do with your traps?" I was like, they can put 800 traps out at one time, and I'm like, you got a line the buoy that goes all the way down, and I'm like, you might lose it, with the swells on that. You might not lose it, but have trouble finding it on that.
Yeah, I didn't think about all that.
They think they're going to get more lobster because it swirls everything up.
Well, that's true. I mean, down in the Gulf of Mexico, I mean, some of the best fishing I ever did was the day after a hurricane. I mean, you typically have more fish that are coming in. But anyway, so this is a little grid, and I'm sorry we had so many graphics I worked on during the day today, but we can't get to them because of a technical reason. It's got to be the long distance between here and Maine, probably. But anyway, this is Saturday morning, according to the National Weather Service. There in your area that says, some sustained winds at 29, 30 that goes up to 6 o'clock. I'll have to switch pages, but it's gusts to 46. Is it just me, or is that like, that ain't nothing?
That right there is to me. I mean, 46-mile-an-hour wind gusts for several hours like that. Again, based on the topography and what I've been talking about with the trees and the soggy soil, I think actually will cause impacts for people, as in losing power for several hours. So yes, that I can't say nothing's going to happen. I think with that stuff will happen. But as far as the big Hurricane Lee's coming to Maine, that's it. I guess the bigger question I was posed to earlier today from somebody else is this any different than a nor'easter, other than snow, obviously?
Right.
And no.
Well, that's what I say. I mean, I told you the graphics here. So that goes till 6 p.m. The bottom line is the sustained wind, 29 to 30. They're projecting some gusts of 48 at 6 p.m. And then still on Saturday, again, going into the nighttime hours. It goes down exponentially after the thing goes by, obviously, and you can see the gusts down to 46. But, I mean,
I think that's low. I do think that's low.
You think that's low?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially at the coast. I mean, I think in interior Maine, where I live, I'm in Gorham, Maine, where I live personally. And like you get into Augusta, Maine, and Lewiston, Auburn, Maine areas, I think you're definitely going to be looking at that type of wind. But when you get to the coast, it's going to be gusting over 50.
Okay.
I think in some spots, especially mid-coast Maine.
Okay. So Punta Gorda, we don't really care about Punta Gorda just yet.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
75 low humidity here today. Yeah.
It actually does. So how are people reacting there? Because I can tell you, in the deep south, we're all going ape over it because, well, at least meteorologically we are, and we've heard so many stories about what it's going to do. I told you when I was in college, we did through like 3 case studies when I was at FSU. One was, what if a hurricane were to hit New Orleans? Well, that happened. What if a hurricane? Well, one of the things was the Bay of Fundy, actually, because of that 50-foot, or is it 50-foot or something that they claim the tidal range is. And I actually knew a guy in Birmingham, Alabama, who owned 150 acres on the Bay of Fundy, and he used to show me pictures of it. It's like 1 minute he had waterfront property, and the next minute he had to take a hike.
Yeah.
So, are there any ramifications of not the Bay of Fundy? It's not like a highly populated area, is it?
No, I mean, no.
Not the Bay of Fundy, but are there other? I mean, you're kind of like you're in the area there in southeastern Maine where the impacts would probably be the highest, or would they be about equal? I mean, you're going to be there when it's at its strongest point. There's a weakening trend as it goes further to the northeast, so you might actually, and you got that little cup shape there and everything. I mean, things might, I could see where things could be a bigger deal than maybe what I'm thinking. But what does the public think?
Well, there's a lot of communications always a nightmare in the weather enterprise. We know about that. And when there's the statements that come out from the Weather Service that have, a tropical storm warning. We don't get tropical storm warnings. We hadn't had a hurricane watch in Maine since 2008 for Hurricane Kyle, and it didn't happen. So a lot of people don't know. And, to be honest with you, even me, being from the Northeast originally, and, we've had hurricanes come up here. There's Hurricane Bob in 1991. That was a strong tropical storm here. But, it just doesn't happen much. So people don't know what that means. And they think, is this going to be as bad as ones that hit the Carolinas or down in, I think they understand it's not going to be like a Gulf of Mexico storm. They get that. But I think they want to know if they're going to lose power. And I think they know the answer there. And how long they're going to be without power. And I think people on the coast just want to know, how big are these waves going to be? And some of our models are just generally saying that the breaking waves should be like 10, 15 feet in southern Maine, but closer to 20 feet out down east, toward like Bar Harbor and like Acadia National Park. It's going to be some wild video out of there. I'll tell you, that Thunder Hole, be some wild waves there. So that's, I think the question is, what are these waves really going to be? Are they going to bring the ones that we've been talking about? Is is the beach going to be? Is there going to be any of the beach left? Or the dunes going to be gone? The boardwalk's going to be all damaged. You know, trees down in people's yards.
Sure.
So it's a full foliage right now. When we get nor'easters, there's no leaves in the trees, so that's another big thing. So.
Well, yeah, that's what, and that was my next and last question because I got to let you go here. I don't know how many people I have seen. I live near an RV park here, inside of an RV park, and there are people who are coming here now who are on their way up there to see you. I don't know how many really over the last 2 weeks were headed that way to see some leaves. This can't be a good deal. I mean, are they close to changing up there? Are they?
Been a weird summer, David. I'll tell you. I saw
Yeah.
leaves change in mid August.
Really?
We had a couple bright, and they, as much as it has to do with the daylight more than the weather itself. We've done some stories on this, and a lot of the arborists are saying that it's stress on trees, and so the amount of rain we got, which is just outrageous. I mean, some of the inland communities got a foot of rain in July. That we usually get 3 inches, and some of them got 7 inches in a day. So
Wow.
I think some of the trees were stressed that way. But generally in southern Maine, our peak is in early October.
Yeah.
Northern areas toward the Canadian border, up in the county, we call it Aroostook County, Maine, the crown of Maine. That should be going mid to late September. And that area will be fine.
Yeah. All right. I hope everybody heard that. What's it Bug Light, by the way?
Bug Light is a little lighthouse right there that overlooks Portland Harbor. Got a great little park there. It's the lighthouses are all still operational. So when the boats come in, they're useful during the fog. And I can tell you how many live shots during nor'easters I stat right there in that park and listen to the ocean come in. It's a beautiful view of Portland too. You can see the whole harbor and all the boats come in. The big cruise ships come in. It's pretty cool. And that Fort Gorges, you see that right there in the middle?
Yeah.
That's really fascinating. It's a fort that was built in the middle of Casco Bay, and it has a grass top to it, as you see there. It was actually built by the Union for the Civil War, and they didn't finish it because the war ended.
Wow.
And now people kayak out to it and explore it.
Well, I mean, that's like, so, I mean, logically, that looks like the water line's right up there. Is that real?
Yeah, that's a high tide. Yeah.
All right. So where could the water go right there?
Ooh. I mean, I think that we're only expecting it to kind of come up about 3 feet more than the high tide
3
itself,
feet?
which will again do some damage. So 3 feet at the most, by the way. So.
How cool. What a
But
cool
it's a great area if anybody's
What a-
watching that wants to visit Maine. Obviously the lobster is good, but it's you think about the Maine Rocky Coast. It's absolutely gorgeous. The weather in the summer, you can't beat it. You want to cool down from Alabama, but inland Maine. I mean, the hiking, the lakes region, it's fantastic. I feel like I'm working for the Chamber of Commerce.
Well, I know you love it up there. I read your Facebook stuff all the time. I mean, this isn't in danger of seeing water come over near the airport or anything?
Yeah. That area right there, the Stroud, that's the Fore River. It's pretty well protected there. They haven't really talked about much that's the Portland jet port, one of the few jet ports we have in the country.
It's the international jet
really,
port too, dude.
Where were we looking at? So the areas in Scarborough, Maine, down in Old Orchard Beach. Old Orchard Beach is that's kind of like the honky tonk, Myrtle Beach, Panama City of Maine. Very popular with French Canadian tourists.
That's where Drew lives.
And Old Orchard Beach should have flooding.
Okay.
You see it right there, yep, in Saco Bay. There's a giant pier there, so we're gonna have, on our WMTW, the station I work for, we're probably gonna have team coverage up and down the coast to show it. But the pier is a historic pier that goes out there. Fun time in the summer, but
well, give yourself a little plug now. Where can people find you, and can they find you even if they're not in the area there? How it's because I really appreciate you doing this so much.
Oh,
man.
no problem.
Yeah.
The easiest way is you already mentioned my Facebook page, meteorologist Ted Macker. Go ahead and watch all our stuff on there, and I always share all the stuff that's going on around the country too.
Yeah, I'd like to be.
But on TV, I work at WMTW. It's the ABC affiliate up here in Portland, Maine. I do the mornings, and I'll be in Saturday for a long time.
Yeah,
I normally don't. So.
Yeah. Well,
I'll be on in the morning Saturday 5 to who knows when. But we do have a football game on our network, FSU BC. So
yeah,
I'll make things complicated. So
that's going to be an interesting game. It's a north-south field. So think about it. at least 2 quarters, you got the wind in your face.
I think Boston College is just excited there's something that prevented it from being
Well, I
slaughtered.
know, and I would think that they think they. I mean, I would, they obviously they had a chance, but they got a bigger chance now that the ball's not going up into the air for 2 quarters. You would think, because
No kicking either. Yeah.
that's I know, yeah, kicking. Oh my gosh, that's going to be crazy. I love watching weather affected games, mostly snow and that kind of thing, but this will be an amazing thing to see. I did everything I could to get it called off, and they just ignored me, Ted, just like everywhere else. Tim McInerney, I thank you so much for being on with us, buddy. We really, really
Oh, it was great
appreciate
to see
it.
you guys, and I appreciate it. And anytime
Yeah.
there's one of these big nor'easters, I'd love to join you guys and tell you all about the craziness we have up here.
We're gonna do that because again, I watch you from afar, and I mean, just on Google Earth here, sitting with you, I could listen to you talk about the area over and over again. So yeah, I'll give the Chamber of Commerce a buzz and say I was watching Ted the other night. I want to know how to get a trip up there. So anyway,
Exactly.
appreciate you, buddy, and have a good night, and good luck with everything that goes on. Okay.
Yep. Take care and stay cool down there, guys.
All right. See you. Ted McInerney, who worked with me in Birmingham, Alabama, a terrific guy there. We were so fortunate to have him there in Birmingham when we had a couple of tornadoes there. Sometimes I'll share that with you. It was one of the worst days in my career. I ever remember being with tornadoes there in that portion of the country, and a lot of people went through them. I know we had a lot of people who were affected by that, basically. But now we're going to talk a little bit more about the rest of the country here, and I guess we'll just go back over here if we can. I apologize for doing this as crudely as we are, but forecasting models and that kind of thing. And one of the things that I did want to touch on here, I'm just going to stay on here because of where we are, but we're going to go with the GFS and look at it. The folks at Tropical Tidbits, by the way, thank you so much for allowing us to use this. Tropical Tidbits, you can find them. Everybody loves them right now because they do have lots of tidbits about the tropics. And there's your storm off to the east. And we're watching a couple of things that may change the pattern here as we go through and into the next 48 hours or so. And one of those is that we are projecting a buckle back into the jet stream with the actual jet stream coming southward again. The main jet, there'll be a low pressure that'll move out. And right about here, as we go through it. Now, this is 7 days away, so kind of take this with a grain of salt. This is on the 22nd, but right about there, we've got a trough that'll be coming out that actually will have some severe characteristics with it. We at this point, you see the high pressure that's off in the northeast at that time. It's a 1030 high. That'll bring in southerly wind flow and dew points that'll make it back up into the 60s as we get into the latter part of the forecasting period here. So we are projecting this might be our first severe weather scenario setting back up. Drew, I've been looking at this for the last couple of days, and I think this probably materializes into we'll say Thursday or Friday sort of an outlook here as it comes across the middle of the country. And a true cold front, it's hard saying, cold front, but it's a true cold front. A 1030, 1025 high settles down into Colorado, and then an actual front that goes through the southeastern United States with the potential for severe weather. And again, right, you can see the buckle right here that we're talking about.
Bingo, David. It just seems like the whole season is, kind of ahead of itself a little bit this year.
Having said that, Drew, one of the things, our 1996 was when Fox first developed a news program, and I was hired in Birmingham, Alabama. We first went on the air with 9 o'clock news for the first time. I was the chief meteorologist there. We went on the air on September the 15th of 1996. And the following day, I had one of the worst severe weather days of my 11-year career there in Birmingham in mid-September. Now, as the earliest by far I've ever seen it for the South, the deep South. We had like 41 tornado warnings that day. So I know it happens this early.
That's incredible.
What else would you expect out of this year than to see nothing but a bunch of anomalies?
That's what I was about to say. This year has been so weird all the way back to January. I think, with the El Nino pattern we're in and the crazy tropical year we've seen so far. Just, we really didn't have a whole lot. We were talking about how slow the season was, and then somebody flipped that switch, and it's been crazy since then. So, again, like you said, why else wouldn't we have a possible severe weather event in mid-September, possibly next week? And then, I've got to wonder, Dave, since we're already seeing the severe weather popping up on the models or the threat of the severe weather, when's the first time you think we're going to see a fall snowstorm coming in across the country? Because obviously, usually we get all the way closer to Thanksgiving, definitely after Halloween, that I can remember, the northern plains or maybe parts of the Northeast getting their first big snow. But there you go. We're already seeing some snow on the models out just a few weeks out.
Yeah, that's northern Wyoming. And when I was in Denver, 10, 11 years prior to getting back here to Alabama 2 years ago, we had several September snows. We had several. They've already had one at the Rocky Mountain National Park.
Mm-hmm.
They've already had a couple of inches of snow. They're about 12,000 feet. So it's, it's kind of happening. We had a big Halloween snow there one time. I know that's quite a bit further down the road, another month from now, but it happens there. And you get, the thing about it in Denver is that it can snow 10 inches one day and it's still 70 the next. And so
exactly.
it's all right, that sort of thing. But this is up into Wyoming here and southern Montana, where there's an expectation, maybe Jackson Hole getting their first snow of the season. I got a good buddy of mine that's up there right now, who's going through Yellowstone, actually, was over in Jackson yesterday, who talking about how cold it was into the morning, but how warm it was into the afternoon. So, that's I think there's the likelihood of seeing some of that happening, especially, I don't know exactly how cool this thing is behind it. We call it advection, CAA, cold air advection coming in behind this, and I don't know how much of that there is. But the other thing is that, so he was just talking about all the rain they're having up there. Goodness. We can't buy a rain here in the deep south. We've had a couple that, I say we can't buy one. Some places got a thunderstorm or two, Drew, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
I have been absolutely blocked off by some sort of weird, I think they call it dark energy, dark science or something that's totally blocked me from getting any rain here at all.
Definitely had a rain shield over your area this summer for sure.
Gosh, everything that came up here died out before it got into North Alabama. And it's really sad to see the leaves on the trees, what they're doing. I mean, it's so pitiful. And I don't know what that's going to do with, our fall color season as well.
Yep.
But
you guys in chat, just real quickly, want to shout out to you guys. Y'all have been awesome chatting tonight. Zach, shout out to you. Bradford Homestead. Earlier, Mr. Boo Boo 1972 is watching. We appreciate
is
you
Boo
chiming
Boo with
in.
us?
Western Maine, of course, where he's watching from tonight.
Boo Boo is
talking about. Yep, says he's from Western Maine, so we appreciate that, Boo Boo.
Get out of here.
Bree was saying thanks to Ted, loves your weather forecast, she said earlier. So Bree, huge shout out to you. And we even had somebody, ATL Florida girl, glad to see you as always in here. We had somebody watching from Japan a few minutes ago, I believe. Let me find that in chat.
Get out of here.
Yeah, Q Freedom. Watching from Japan. So you guys, again, thank y'all for tuning in. If you can do me a quick favor, hit that like button on this video. That will help YouTube push this out to more people and let them watch. Even if it's after we're ended here in just a little bit, they can go back and watch the replay of our live show tonight.
Yeah, we apologize. A little discombobulated here. We were going to go on at 8 o'clock tonight, but because of Ted and his situation where he had to go to work early tomorrow morning, we started an hour early, and I apologize. We don't have the same graphics that we normally have. We're still waiting on Brad. Have you heard from Brad at all?
Haven't seen him jump in, so he may be in a dead zone.
That's all right, because we've already talked about everything, and you know what he'd do? You don't hear, and he'd say, so there's a hurricane out there out in the Atlantic, and I'd go, no, Sherlock. Yeah. I think so, we're going to be talking about Lee some more, although it's not really a threat to most of the country. It is a threat there up into New England. As Ted says, it could go through just without much fanfare at all. especially now that it's picking up speed and it looks like crap on the satellite image. That's great news. Dry air's funneling into that thing really fast and breaking it up. It's going to eventually have a little front hanging out the bottom side of it and be more like a nor'easter in that concept. Where it's not deriving its energy out of the water anymore, as he said, but the temperature differential will probably drive it from then on, and goes up into that area there near Newfoundland and the Bay of Fundy. If you want to Google Bay of Fundy, what a amazing area there of nature that takes place, where they have a 50-foot swing in their tides, and it's unbelievable. I was trying to think of what could even be slightly comparable, Drew, here in the South, but we don't have anything that's comparable to that, where you can sit and watch the tide literally go in and out 50 feet in a day.
Yeah, I don't think we do anywhere in the South, or even, East Coast, Virginia, southward. I don't know of anywhere like that.
No, I don't know where. Have you ever seen that tidal bore that people ride in on surfboards and stuff?
Yes, that's crazy.
That's
I don't.
That's at my house. That's here in Fort Payne.
There you go. I don't even know if the West Coast they have the tidal swings that big, to be honest with you. So
no, they don't.
That's pretty wild to see.
That's pretty cool. You might Google Bay of Fundy, spelled exactly like you would think it was. But that's up there, and that could be, some of the video that we get, especially if that thing goes a little bit west of there, and you drive in a southerly fetch, that could be a big deal there overall. But what is not a big deal is the rest of the weather forecast is somewhat benign until we get into what we think is going to happen next week, which should be a switch over with higher dew points again. We got a cold front going through, but you're going to immediately, if you look at the high pressure ridge that's sitting off the East Coast there next week, we'll say the middle and end of next week, all those isobars are coming in from the south. And so we're going to have a parallel wind to those isobars. The black lines are isobars. Parallel wind to that means it's a southerly wind going all the way up into Michigan. And we're going to drive the dew points up. Once again, the Gulf of Mexico is still super warm. That's going to take a while to actually see the water cool off. It takes water, quite a considerable time to cool off. And so that's going to be a real thing there for a while. And I think, Drew, for me, as a scientist myself, having watched the weather for as long as I have, for me, the Gulf of Mexico is such a tremendous weather influence for all of the southern states or the southeast. I tend to wonder what a 4 or 5 degree warmer Gulf of Mexico means in early November.
Exactly. Severe weather, big time, possibly.
Yeah, I wonder. That's
think about this. Like you said, through November, December, into January, yes, the Gulf will be cooling off, obviously. But think if we're in early January and even in its cooler state, it's still running warmer than average. What if we get a big southern track snowstorm coming, down the pipe? You've got to wonder how much, again, moisture content of the air on the cold side of the storm. Could we get a foot of snow somewhere in the deep south this year? Probably not. But, it's kind of like you said, it's kind of a cycle to where we're so much warmer. How long does it take for us to get back to normal in the Gulf?
Yeah. Again, a tremendous, and it affects, really from eastern Texas and Oklahoma. You'll see the effects of it next week when the dew points come back up again. And, I know you need rain. Louisiana, big time deficit there in Louisiana. I've talked to some folks who are from down there in Opelousas Parish who were talking about fires and stuff up near, all along that area there, east of Sam Rayburn Lake and all along the Sabine River and through that region. So been watching all of that as we have moved along, and we still want to make sure that we keep you up to date on what's happening with the big picture here overall. Thank you, Drew, because I couldn't see any of that before.
Yeah, I just realized you don't have chat going, so I'm trying to help you out there.
Let's see,
there you go.
Video of the Bay, really incredible. Yeah, video of the Bay. It is really incredible. It's pretty awesome to see when you do Didn't get snow in the Florida Panhandle. Nah, you probably won't, Ramon. Lizzie says, I wish. Ramon. Who else have we got? Somebody from Michigan I saw there as well. So, pretty much it is what it is when it comes to that sort of a situation. And we're just this is going to be a variety sort of a situation here that goes on for the rest of this next month and the month beyond, because we just don't know how much a warmer than normal Gulf of Mexico is going to mean when we really start to tap into that moisture with cold fronts coming on in.
ATL Florida Girl, yes, we do have some people up in the Northeast already going to chase the storm. So
yeah, we've got one of our, several are up there, but maybe we'll talk to Brandon Clement during the day tomorrow and get some information from him. He's always Johnny on the spot. I don't know. That's a story in itself, is how many miles does Brandon travel?
Goodness gracious.
Dude goes from Hawaii to California, back to Hawaii, over to the East Coast. He's all over the place. So maybe we can talk to him during the day tomorrow. Penny's downstairs, and Penny says, hey. And Ramon says, hi, Penny, but I don't. Does Ramon know who Penny is? I don't know. Ramon, do you know who Penny is? Penny's my chicken, by the way. She's the weather chicken. Yeah, Josh Burnham. Josh, good to see you there. Appreciate you being with us.
Dave, what do you want to do for tomorrow night? Do you want to plan for another show tomorrow night, maybe as this thing approaches, or do you want to wait, maybe do some live coverage Saturday? Or do you want to have the people vote? We've never done that before.
No, don't let them vote, man. They vote us off the air in a half a second. I would.
Yeah, I would too.
I'm sorry. We did poorly tonight. I didn't have any graphics for you, and I apologize. Brett was supposed to be with us, and he's a no-show. I'll tell you where he is. He's at Walmart somewhere in the back, and he doesn't have a signal. He's probably back there. I know he is. Or he's at one of those where they have a pizza bar, yes. So he's probably there. He's somewhere eating. I got money right now. I'm not a betting man, but I got money. Brett's sitting at a table somewhere with like a garbage can lid full of seafood. That's what he does. He's eating a garbage can lid, and it's a garbage can lid, and it's got like all crab meat and all kind of stuff, that crawfish. That's where he is. Don't tell me he's not. True. Don't tell me he's like traveling somewhere and he can't reach us. Dude's eating a garbage can lid full of food somewhere and just doesn't want to tell us. And BJ Jarvis would be with us, but he's recovering from his Nickelback concert that he went to a couple nights ago. He still hasn't gotten out of bed after that concert, so we don't know where he's at. We just didn't have the personnel that we normally do. So, besides Drew and I, they just threw it on Drew and I and said, y'all go do it. And so we tried to do it, but...
And hey, guys, you guys that were here at the beginning of the show, apologies. We have this really cool script that automatically does some stuff for us now. Well, the problem with that is the script didn't want to stop doing some stuff to let us start the show tonight. So, again, thanks for bearing with us for that, 10, 15 seconds of black flashing screen. But I did have that sorted out, and that should not happen again. So, appreciate you guys.
Let me see.
Look, there we go. Everybody, some people know who Penny is.
All right, if she's awake, let me see if I can call her up here. Is Penny awake? Come here, Penny. Come here, girl. Let's see. She'll probably come out here for just a minute. It's her bedtime, to be quite honest with you.
Yep.
But we'll bring her
full
up
screen here in a minute if you get Penny up in the studio.
She's coming. I see her coming up the stairs.
All right. Well,
come here, Penny girl. Come on. Now, when I do that, all my animals are coming running. Let's see. Hey, Penny girl, come on. You're a good girl. All right. Let's see. You sit here. See, you didn't think I was being serious, did you? I got a freaking chicken, people. This is Penny. She's a Rhode Island Red chicken. Come here. Yeah, stay right there. I don't have enough light on Penny right there. Don't go that way. Come here. Sit on my shoulder. Yeah. Right there. So Penny is a Rhode Island Red, and I was now you can't see her face. I was doing a live shot during snow up in Tennessee, and I found Penny on the side of the road hiding under a bush because she wasn't really well. Thank you. Something to eat. It's French fry. She didn't like that. Anyway, found her under a bush. My friend Sharon and I, and we brought her home, and because she was really thin and skinny, and she's been kind of a cool pet. We don't let her run around the house. She's been outside all day. Uh, but she's been kind of cool, and I just had a stroke not long beforehand, and so we kind of rescued each other. I sort of picked her up and helped her out, and she kind of helped me out too. I couldn't handle a dog at the time. You don't like it, do you? But anyway, she's yeah, Josh said she's good at predicting foul weather, which ought to get you booted off. If I had a really good moderator, you'd be gone for that crap, Josh. Uh, Drew's kids love Penny. We do we do Facebooks with Penny, and Drew's whole family loves her, and they talk to her normally before she goes to bed. Um, and you know, some people have a dog. I've had chickens, but never one that we on a first name basis that I was friends with, and so she's pretty good pet. We kind of saved each other. That's why I've got her here at the moment. And we bring her on when we don't have severe weather to talk about. She has, by the way, go to Facebook and look her up. If you go to a site called the Dodo, or just tell you what, do this. If you go to Google and you Google Weatherman Saves Chicken, you'll see all of Penny's story. It has 9 million views. 9 million views in Facebook alone. That's not TikTok, or she still has TikTok and what's that other one, Drew? There's several of them. Instagram and something else. I don't remember what it is. She has her own page called Pin the Hen, Pin the Weather Hen, Pin the. Did I get it wrong? Pin the Weather Hen. She loves when I do this. She used to like it when I. You want me to do that? You want me to do your goggle? Any second now, she's going to take a massive dump down my back, and you'll see me shiver. Kind of makes me shiver when she does. But she sort of has that, I can tell, because her feet aren't really steady yet, so she's a little bit nervous. And that's Penny the Weather Hen. Does Penny get nervous when storms come? No, you know, Penny has she has her own little, like a pet carrier. And so she's outside all day, not by herself. She's outside in a pen all day, and because we have so many predators here. But then at night she goes in, and we let her come in, and she gets in a carrier, and she goes right to the carrier. And as soon as it gets dark, she's ready for bed, which was what was just happening a few moments ago. She was getting ready for bed. And as soon as it gets dark, she does that, and then we don't hear from her again till the next morning. Totally till like 8 o'clock the next morning, she'll make a sound or two. So it's pretty good that way. Can you say something? Huh? Yeah, look in the camera over there. Now she's doing something that birds do. If maybe you've got a bird, but she's molting. She's losing her feathers. It's kind of that time of the year when the days, it's weather related actually. That's why we have her on, because it's weather related, and she's molting. She's losing her feathers because of the hours of daylight that she's accustomed to are getting shorter. And that's her internal clock, her mechanism to say, all right, so I'm going to lose my feathers now and go through a molting process. Actually, what she wants to do right now is go to sleep. That's why she just perched.
Bedtime for Penny.
Bedtime for Penny. So anyway, thank you for letting me bring her on. I don't know who brought her up, but thank you for. She's actually super comfortable now. Now, you know when she's comfortable because she just relaxes like kind of like a baby does when they're ready to go to sleep, and they're just like a rag. She's like that right now. Or she's gonna take a dump. It's one of the two. It's really I don't ever really know until it happens. So
Yep.
I just think it's pretty cool right now that this was. So Brett was going to be on with us by 7:45, but he was replaced by a chicken. How cool is that?
Can't go wrong with Penny now.
Brett. We actually gained 7 viewers. Not by not having you on. We gained 7 viewers with a red-headed chicken. Did you find your Instagram? Cool. That's great. I'm sorry, I should have had some stuff, some links and stuff, but yeah, I should have done that. Again, you talk about funny now if you want to read some stuff. I've had so much enjoyment out of it when these people did the story, the Dodo people did the story about her. Did you see? She's going to sleep. Do you see her? Her eyes, well, she was till she saw something. She still amazes me. It's kind of like watching fish in an aquarium. I know, we're about to go, darling. Great story that the Dodo people did, and she's actually going to have her own little show on the children's Dodo here pretty soon. They let me know about 2 weeks ago that they're going to put her on there, and I don't know if we're going to do all new stuff, but we shot enough stuff for them to probably do a show for the next year and sent it to them. So the producer was like, we got so much stuff. We think we're going to put her on the Dodo Children's channel. So
that's awesome.
Yep. So
photojournalist Michael Beard, thanks for checking in with us.
The Beard Man.
Yep.
Yes, I took her to Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you saw that. Took her to Chick-fil-A, and she got fries. I wouldn't dare make her eat her own kind. But she loves their waffle fries. Don't we all love their waffle fries? She loves their waffle fries, so that's what we got. And then they gave her a complimentary fruit cup, and she ate everything but one thing, and I can't remember what it was. I'm the same way. She didn't really eat it all. So, can you hear her? Did she come through my mic?
She is.
All right. Well, we've talked weather. I apologize again for it was sort of a broken hour, but we had Ted McInerney on with us. Ted's probably back at his house right now. If he's watching, he's going, "Oh my God, I opened for a bird. I opened up for a chicken." But no, Ted's so great to have him on here from up in Portland, Maine, where they're expecting some of the outer bands of what will be Tropical Storm Lee by the time it gets there. And everything should be calm. She's having coffee with me. So my friend that helped me capture her is who she was probably having coffee with Sharon. And Willa said Penny ate apple. Maybe so. It might have been apple.
That's my daughter. Remember when we were on FaceTime the other night? Yep, that's my 2-year-old when she was eating
apple.
Is
it?
So.
Oh, that's your wife. Okay.
Yep, that's my wife.
Okay, I didn't read all of it. I just read Ann. She did eat apple. Yeah, that's right. She ate the apple. I cut an apple up for her, and she ate it. You had to break the skin off for her, but anyway. She's almost out of the shot, but I can't lean down anymore. And she's really just griping because it's bedtime. Yep. So anyway, we've been on an hour now. We appreciate you, the 50 or so of you and the 600 views that we've had. We appreciate you so much. And thank you all for being with us. Not a lot to talk about tonight other than the hurricane thing, but the weather's going to ramp up, I think, as we go through the weekend. And in the middle of next week is when we have our next event. And then the kids, look who just jumped up in my lap. Uh-oh. Oh, well, why'd you jump up here then? Penny, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Penny is the one who wins in this situation. This is Poison Ivy. I know your girls like Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy normally sits over here. It's a freaking zoo at my house. All are rescues. The chickens are rescue. The kittens are rescue. Because can't help it. You know what Ivy's looking for? Let me give it to her. So in my retirement, this is what I do now. I come upstairs and I play with all the animals and the mouse. You know what? All those other weather weenies that you watch on YouTube, they don't have this kind of entertainment. What's really funny is I can make her actually fall off if I take it all the way down. All right. I really, it's been pretty, I'm fortunate in that I didn't get dumped on. So,
let's see if we can keep it that way.
let's
Right?
see if we can keep it that way and I can get off the air here. Drew, if you'll wrap
Yep.
it up, I'm actually going to hang up my earphones and take her downstairs.
Sounds good, guys.
All
Again,
right.
thank y'all so much for tuning in tonight. We'll be back with more weather information as necessary. For Dave, for Brett that wasn't able to make it, and of course for Ted earlier in the show. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Y'all have a good night.